Freedom's the answer. What's the question? You're listening to Ernest Hancock.
Yeah, crank it up here and declare your independence of me, Ernest Hancock. I'm talking with Barbara Peterson from Farmwars.info, and I'm interested in someone that has the ability. You have the land, you have some farm animals, you have some abilities. I'm sure you've learned something, and you got an awareness. How are you going to survive this thing? I'm interested in you sharing with the audience just exactly what you're doing and how you're hoping to cope when the streets run red. Tell me what your plan is.
Well, you never know exactly what you're gonna do when the moment arrives, but you can get somewhat prepared. I honestly believe that the cities are not the place to be. This is just something they have too much congestion. They can be cut off, gridlocked. These new vehicles that are coming out, they can be shut down just by the stroke of a key. So this is one reason why I wanted to get away. Also needed to learn the skills. I believe that skills are the one most valuable thing that we could possibly have. And even if you can't afford, like I'm not a rich person, I can't afford to go out and buy stockpiles of silver or gold or things like that. But the one thing that I can do is I can learn how to do my own garden, and I can protect that garden, and I can get seeds from that garden and then have food for the next year and the next year. And when you're looking at food being rationing, our strategic grain reserves, they're depleted. We don't have them.
I didn't know we had a strategic grain reserve. What's that?
Well, we're supposed to. For the nation, we're supposed to have grain reserves in case of an emergency.
Seriously, I'm going to be counting on the government to come. I mean, because sounds like like Somalia. You have the grain goes to the man, and then the man determines who gets the grain, and guess who gets it? Whoever's supporting the man, I can tell you that right there. So I wouldn't depend on that anyway.
Right. But if they were so concerned about us having this program and having food safety and all that, why aren't they supporting the local farmers? Why are they trying to get rid of them? Why are they letting the multinational conglomerates take over everything? Why are they running us straight into the World Trade Organization? It's not for our safety. It's for control and depopulation. They don't care if we die, so we have to make sure that we live. We have to get ourselves in a position to where we have water, some sort of a way to grow food, some sort of stockpiles of seeds. There's going to be a transition period if the fan. We have to, if you are able, you have to start getting some sort of a reserve, store things, like get a little extra, when you go to the store. If you've got some extra money, put it in some food storage, because it's going to take the learning curve. Okay, some of us learn quicker than others, but there's a learning curve to everything. You have to know how to get off the grid. Solar panels, or if you're going to put up wind power or something, you're not going to be able to count on electricity.
Well, where do you get your information from? As you're doing this stuff and doing some research, and you have your website, and you do a podcast also. You have a radio show. And what's the name of the woman that does that with you?
That's Marty Oakley. And she's my partner.
Oh, I see her posted on Freedom's Phoenix. I didn't know you guys were associated. Oh, very cool. Okay, so
she's my partner on the Truth Squad radio.
Okay, so when you guys are getting your information and so on, you get a lot of it from the internet. What happens when that goes down? Or do you have books that you suggest? Or where'd you get a lot of your information?
Well, my information basically comes from the internet. I have a little library here. Marty runs down to the local used bookstore and snags up every kind of book that she could possibly find. She has books all over the place, and she likes doing that. I personally prefer internet searches, because when I go, by the time I'm done with a book, it's got so many markups and write-ups and stuff on it, I barely read the thing. But I suggest that I have one site that's linked to on Farm Wars that I just devote to putting up tips and stuff, where to get a pump that you can run off of a solar generator, how to can stuff. We're going to need to have these skills. We're going to need to learn, and it's not going to happen overnight. That's why I started doing this stuff one step at a time, because with the fan, I don't want to be stuck there going, oh, I've got nothing to eat, no shelter, and don't know how to do these things for myself. People like that, they're cannon fodder. They're going to end up just off. They're gone because they didn't consider it valuable to get the skills.
You know what we did is my wife, of course, when she was young, her grandmother and her mother, they would can, their garden, tomatoes and such. And we went ahead and she got a canning thing, and I guess like a pressure cooker and different kinds of, kitchen implements to be able to do this. And I got her a KitchenAid for Christmas or something, we can grind our own wheat, which we've been doing to make bread. In fact, we went and I go, this is good. I tell you what, go and get as much of the wheat and the ingredients that you need, yeast and such, to be able to make a loaf of bread every day for a year. Well, she did. Then we have a Mylar sealing package thing that she did. She put all that stuff in. We have these big, they were for tomatoes. They're like 60-gallon, these blue plastic barrels, that we got for like $15 a piece. I mean, now I'm sure they're a gazillion dollars, but it was a farmer here that used them to ship tomatoes in or something. They had extra and just saw it on Craigslist, went and got a bunch. And then we, sold them out to friends and such like that, because I had my boys, went in their trucks and got it, and the trailers and everything. So we have these to put the storage in. So we probably, if it's just my wife and I, we probably got maybe as much as 2-3 years we're not going to die. And it didn't really cost, I would say, with all of the stuff, including, sealing it and everything, I would say a few, 2 years, maybe $2,500. And I saw that as a good investment. But as much as that I thought was important, it was also the knowledge. How many calories a day do you need? What kind of stuff should you be getting? Rice, beans, is that it? Now, give me some Spam, So there's a lot of things that we, and then of course we have chickens in our backyard too. So we get at the peak. I mean, they can produce 6 chickens, and you can get up to 5-6 eggs a day. Now they're kind of in their molten thing, and we still get a couple a day. So I'm going, these are skills that we need. And she used to do canning with her grandmother and so on. So she got the stuff and learned how to do that again. So we have some canned and, the jars and everything. But really, is it enough to sustain it? No, it's the knowledge that was important. So then, do we need to go buy a bunch of the jars? I mean, if you don't have something to put it in, you're not any better off. I mean, I got a whole bunch of crop of something, and certainly where you live in Oregon, you're not growing anything this time of year. But
right.
And have you done any kind of a greenhouse thing or something? Have you extended your growing season by any other means, or what's your primary calorie source? You're just storing up stuff you buy at the store?
Well, I kind of right now, I have a method. I'm trying to I brought some tomato plants in the house, because you cannot grow a tomato out here unless you have a greenhouse, and we haven't been able to put a greenhouse together. So what I want to do is I want to take one of my spare rooms in the house. I'm going to put up grow lights, and I'm going to make that my indoor grow room, and I'm going to put benches all around it and grow that way. That's what I've determined that I'm going to do, rather than things that I can't afford to go to a greenhouse.
Well, what about energy? I mean, that's going to take some electricity. I mean, are you on the grid? Have you seen how long have you been at your farm? What, about 2 years or longer? How long have you been there?
My story about this was I started, I came to Oregon and I took my mom with me, and she was elderly, and I took care of her, so I spent most of my time just taking care of her for a while. And when I got this place, it was basically just a trailer and a bare piece of land. So I had to do everything else on it. And at that point, I wasn't thinking about off the grid, so I am tied into the electricity. Now I'm working on getting off the grid.
Off the grid living. You know, this is something that I'm hoping that the audience, I'm glad you came on, Barbara. Thanks for spending some time with me, because I just want to, there are people out there that are actually doing this. And I know a lot of the audience, they're thinking about it or already doing it. And you can be an inspiration to others by just sharing with them websites that have the information so that they don't die. We need some freedom people, freedom-oriented people, people that don't have their brain messed up, that can build a free society after the mess. In the end, freedom always wins, but it gets really, really messy first. We'll see you tomorrow.